Hello and welcome to the Do3 Commit presentation. This is hopefully going to explain to you what Do3 Commit is all about. If it doesn't, then obviously drop me a message either via social media or via my email. The email is dave@do3coaching.com. So first of all, I just want to go through the three different levels of commit that are now available. First of all, we have standard Do3 Commit, Do3 CommitFLEX, and Do3 CommitSWIM. Now, the main difference between these, I'll explain, trying to go through that in a little bit more detail now. First of all, Do3 Commit is really the squad training program. So it's a squad program which starts on the 4th of November, and you effectively get onto the program. So it's very difficult if you start kind of a few weeks late, because you will miss the testing phases and you'll have to kind of catch up with the progression that will have already been kind of built up by that point. But it's designed to peak in around about May for the middle distance races that are in the Grand Prix series. So I'll explain a little bit more about the kind of the standard commit program and the way it works. But yeah, it peaks at May and then goes back down again through standard distance focus and to sprint towards the end of the season. So the idea of this is it's trying to provide a structure and a training plan for athletes who otherwise wouldn't train with a plan at all, and trying to do it in a cost-effective way. There is an input from coaches once a week in the form of an open online meeting. But again, I'll cover that a little bit later on. So the next one then is CommitFLEX. So CommitFLEX program is similar to Commit, but this one is actually adaptable to the individual. So we would spend some time going through with you what your goals are in terms of A races, and decide on the best way of applying the plan. Now, what we're doing this year with CommitFLEX is we're offering various different distance options. So it may well be that you want to just purely work on standard distance, we can cater for that. It may well be that you want to work up to full Ironman, we can cater for that as well. But that's the main difference, is that we apply the plan to you and your races. Finally, we have CommitSWIM. CommitSWIM is effectively the squad training program, the SWIM's training program. So what it allows you to do is you will see all the training sessions in advance. Of course, if you can't come to the actual physical swim squads, then you can do the same session away from the squad. What it also does is allows you access to the Swim Smooth Guru app, which means that you can look at drills and things that are included within the sessions, and you can actually watch the videos and get a little bit more detail that way. So the benefits of Do3 Commit: it gives structured focused training rather than making up as you go along, as a lot of people seem to do. It's much easier to follow a plan and effectively just kind of do what it says on the paper, rather than trying to think to yourself each day, what is it I'm going to do today? And you'll also be safe in the knowledge that the plan has been properly structured, with sessions designed a certain way for a reason and actually placed on the week in a particular place and alongside other training sessions for a reason too. The training plan is delivered by Training Peaks, the online software app. So that system, again, I'll look at that, go through this in a little bit more detail later on, but it's a system which allows you to get access to your training sessions, whether it be on your phone, on your desktop, and they also email these sessions to you. So there's no doubt about what it is that you need to do. You can train with other Do3 Commit athletes, of course, the ones on the standard commit, and to a point some of the athletes on Flex will be doing very similar training at a very similar time, very often on the same kind of days, particularly with the standard Do3 Commit. So there will be other athletes around that are available and have hill reps on the same day as you, or have an FTP test on the same day as you, and it just makes it easier to go through this with other people alongside you. We use the Do3 kind of training methodology. which I'll cover in a little while, but it's a system which we have used and developed over several years, and from my experience working with some of the best coaches in the world, and I think most people have seen the kind of results that we get through the squad. So we're confident that it works. So it uses the same kind of methodology on Do3 Commit. You get a dedicated Do3 Commit Facebook group. So, and that's for peer support mainly. So it may well be a question that you don't want to ask the coaches. It may be something that you think is a little bit kind of trivial or a little bit embarrassed to ask it. Just use the Facebook group as you wish. You can put anything on there. The only people that will be in the group, in the private group, are other members of Commit, and some of them have been on Commit for a couple of years, so they know how the system works. So it's there for you to interact with one another, maybe arrange training sessions, and try and get the most out of the group that way. Theory workshops, we're going to be bringing out a whole load of theory workshops in the near future. So it'd be really beneficial if you come along to those. The theory workshops will tie in with a lot of the themes within Commit, so you really get would really benefit from coming along and understanding why we do some of the things that we do and use the training methodologies that we do. Coaches online drop-in session, which I'll touch on a little bit later. We use a GoToMeeting platform so that it's going to be effectively an online meeting room, so you can turn up at any point within an hour's slot and listen to what the chat that's going on and ask your particular questions. So a little bit more about how our training works. So as I explained previously, we do have our own methodology and the way that we coach. Now we use a reverse periodization methodology, which means in simple terms we don't spend the early part of the off season doing a whole load of base training. We do it the other way around. So we start off with speed and power and try and develop the speed fairly early on and develop strength early on. It's very much a strength-based program, and what we do is we underpin that with growing volumes of aerobic work, so that when you arrive at your key race, you've done the speed and the power, you've done the aerobic volume, and you should be fresh to race. Now, the idea with the reverse periodization is that we develop speed and power early on, and we try and maintain that speed and power as we underpin with the aerobic work. So we try and hold on to as much of that speed as possible. If you do things the other way around, it can be quite difficult to develop the kind of speed that you need, because it can effectively, one way of looking at it is you could be kind of effectively trained to be slower, to train aerobically and race aerobically. So we try and come from the other way in. So you've got the speed already, and then we fine tune it and add that strength endurance and speed endurance as we go. This is an overview of a sample training season, if you like. So first of all, we have testing week in week 1. We've actually got 2 lead-in weeks this time around on standard commit. 8 weeks of speed and power. That's kind of like a sprint focus block, so 5Ks, 400-meter swims, that kind of thing. And then we go into speed endurance, which is a little bit more like a standard distance race block. So things get a little bit longer, the intensity drops a bit, but the aerobic volume continues to grow. And then we go into aerobic endurance, which would be more of a middle distance block. And again, the volume increases, the intensity drops a little bit, but we become that little bit more focused on the middle distance type events. And then it goes down the other side as we progress through the season, back to speed endurance and down to speed and power. And so this kind of falls roughly in line with the Grand Prix races which we've chosen. So it's perfect for anybody who wants to do the Grand Prix race series, the Do3 Grand Prix race series, and it's also perfect for people who have a middle distance race around about May time. If what you're looking at doing doesn't kind of fit that, then CommitFLEX is going to be the option that you really need to look at. So one of the advantages of using this approach is that you don't have to do a load of winter miles, so we're doing shorter stuff during the winter. Athletes that train the way that we train can generally be competitive at various distances, from sprint right the way to middle distance and longer. Not one-trick ponies. So you could almost think of it as, if you get somebody who does a lot of long distance training, Ironman training all the time, and they turn up at a sprint, they're really going to struggle. Whereas all athletes, regardless of whether they're Ironman athletes or shorter, will do sprint work. So we'll do speed work all the way through the training, not just at the start, but they include it all the way through. In general terms, we'll be taking through the following phases, which are the ones we've just been through. So week 1 is testing, the benchmark tests. That can make people panic because you just had an off-season block and you're being asked to test. You don't need to worry about that. Everybody goes through the same thing, and it's just simply a way of drawing a line in the sand so we know where we are, we know we're at a start point. And hopefully, as we continue to test, as we go through the training blocks, you'll see that progression. What the testing also allows us to do is set our opening training zones, which you will be told to how to do them. How to do the tests, and also how to set up the training zones within training peaks. So at the end of the training block, the testing block, then you should be left with your training peaks fully set up with all your zones correct. So you'll know exactly what type of training intensities, heart rates, power, all that kind of stuff, which kind of levels you need to be training at during training sessions. So 8 weeks of speed and power, as I've already explained, 8 weeks of speed endurance, 8 weeks of aerobic endurance, and then onto the competition phase, which is what takes you through the rest of the season. Now, this will vary for flex athletes, because it may well be flex athletes want to focus on long distance, want to stay sprint even, or may want to mix it up a little bit. Excuse me. So we will speak to individual flex athletes and make sure the system is set up specifically for what you need. So training weeks will be loaded onto training peaks in blocks of around 4 weeks at a time. This allows us the flexibility to adjust the program live. So it may well be that it doesn't really apply so much to the standard commit. Maybe flex athletes, if they're having a struggle or they're injured or they suddenly change their race focus, we can make the changes a little bit more easily. We don't just load on the whole season and let you get on with it. There's much more kind of support than that. So, as I've explained previously, one of the aims of Commit is to prepare the Do3 squad athletes for the Grand Prix. It doesn't mean you have to do all the Grand Prix races. You may well decide to do just 1 or 2, or you can completely ignore them altogether and just use the standard Do3 Commit program to get you middle distance ready for May. So just to show you the list of Grand Prix races for this season, as you can see, they go from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August we're not sure about at the moment. I have to drop something in there, then September and October. They're varying different distances, so starting off 5K, nice and short, building up through standard distance. We do have a sprint dropped in there as well because it's a local race. Middle distance, we're peaking in May, early June, and then we're dropping back down through standard distance, back down to sprints towards the end of the season. So the program itself is delivered by on Training Peaks, the software system, as I've already explained previously. What you'll need to do is create a free Training Peaks account, and at the end of this presentation there's a few links where you can actually connect up your Training Peaks account to my coach's Training Peaks account, and that's how we kind of load your program on from there. It also allows us to go in and review your training data and the workouts that you've done. So for example, you may decide to attend the coach's drop-in and tell us about a particular training session which you're not sure about, you're not happy about. We will be able to load that training program up from our end and actually look at it with you online. So we'll be able to actually bring up your training program and look at it you'll be able to see the same as what we can see because we have screen sharing. So Training Peaks, you can look at your data, look at your workouts, and also review past workout data from any smartphone, iPads, computers, pretty much any kind of system like that. You can also use Training Peaks manually. So if you don't have gadgets, you don't have Garmin's and all that kind of thing, you can just input the data manually. So the Do3 Commit program, as mentioned above, the program is progressive and will guide you through the training phases as time progresses. Once you have your Training Peaks account set up and connected to the Do3 coaching account, we'll apply the first few weeks of the Do3 Commit program. Your Training Peaks account will look a little bit like this. So what we have here are some various different coloured workouts. This is a completed week. So, or partially completed, I should say. So hopefully you can see there we have a bit of a summary on each one of these cards as a session. So strength, endurance, bike session, what the distance was, a little bit of a description, and then at the bottom here it's got P, so planned and completed. So we have a card for each of the training sessions in here. Sometimes we'll have notes cards where we just give a bit of an explanatory note. And then over on the right hand side you have a summary for your distance and duration and various other numbers and bits and bobs, which I won't go into now, but we'll explain that in a little bit more detail in a workshop. But it just gives you an overall summary of your week. This is just to explain why the cards are all different colours. So a normal card before it's done is grey. If completely completed workout, it goes green. So as you can see down the bottom here, completed 80 to 100% of the plan. That's usually worked out either on time or distance, usually time. An amber one means that you've kind of done 50 to 80% of it. So it may well be that you had a 2-hour training session, you've done an hour of it. That would come up as amber. This kind of orangey colour one is less than 50%. So you've done a bit, but not even half. And then red is a big, haven't done anything. All right, so you can see at a glance about how many of the sessions you're doing. Obviously, ideally, we want to be aiming for a fully green week. So if you click on those cards within the Training Peaks kind of weekly screen, you'll see what happens is these pop up and you'll see the detail of the session. So again, I won't go through this in full detail here, but you have all your planned information. Very often we just have the time in there, and then once you upload your data, you have the completed information. So the intensity that you did it, how many calories you burned, the distance that you covered, that kind of thing. Over here is the description about the actual session itself, the purpose of it, information about what kind of zones you need to work in, and here we go, 3 times 15 minutes at RPE 7 to 8. So RPE is a scale that you can work on. So if you don't have any heart rate monitors or power meters, RPE means rate of perceived exertion. So a 1 being you're asleep in bed, and 10 being you're absolutely flat out. So it just gives you a bit of a guide as to how hard those intervals should be. If there's zones in there, and we have your power zones and your heart rate zones set up, which we should do if you have those kind of facilities available to you, then you can get a bit more accurate with how you train. So that's the slides on the Training Peaks. So the program itself obviously contains weekly swim, bike, and run sessions. The swim sessions, like in a similar way to Do3 CommitSWIM, follow the same swim squad program as the actual kind of the live squads, if you like. Training hours for the program itself will build as time progresses. As it says there, roughly starting 8 to 9 hours a week and then increasing to 15 to 16. Now, what I've actually put in the program this year is I've actually highlighted which sessions are key sessions and which ones, well, the ones that don't have key written on are ones that are not quite as important. So if you can't do all the sessions, at least you know which ones you have to really focus on on that particular week. Okay, so this is about the coaching assistance. So obviously you've got your plan. We'll help you set it up. Now this is the kind of ongoing assistance and help, if you like, if you're not sure about what it is that you need to be doing. So first of all, we have the Facebook group, which I mentioned earlier. So everybody who's on Facebook and wants to be part of the group will be in the Do3 Commit group. So you can go on there and you can ask any questions about the training. You can drop screen grabs in there and just say, I'm not sure about this, what does it mean? And very often you'll get it answered before a coach even sees it. If you want a coach to see it specifically, then just tag either myself or Corinne in the post, and then we'll pop in there as soon as we get a chance and have a look. The other thing that we're offering for coaching assistance this year is the GoToMeeting facility. So we use the GoToMeeting platform. So the way this will work is we'll set a weekly 1 hour slot where you can effectively join the online meeting room. It'll be an open group, so if 10 people turn up, then there'll be 10 people listening in. If you want to talk privately, then obviously you'll have to contact us and we'll have to arrange something else, but it's an open forum. So, and it'll be good for you to listen in to other people because you no doubt have the same questions that other people will have too. If it's really, really busy, then you may have to wait a while to ask your question. Obviously, we will kind of manage the group live, but we don't anticipate there being a huge amount of people in the room at any one time. We will pre-publicize the when the slots are going to be, and we'll also send you a link which you'll have to click to take you to the meeting room. It's really good, it's really clear. It allows us to screen share, so as I said before, we can have a look at your actual training and maybe bring up videos and whatever else we need to do to kind of help explain the points or answer your questions. So this is just a summary slide really about the 3 different levels and the prices. So Do3 Commit is £25 a month, or £200 if you want to pay for the whole year up front. There's no setup fee and there's no minimum term. So if you pay monthly, then if you decide after a couple of months or so you're not happy with it, it's just not working for you, then that's fine. Just let us know and we'll cancel it, and that'll be the end of it. That's not a problem at all. CommitFLEX, there's quite a lot of extra work involved with Flex, which is why it's a bit more expensive. So £50 a month or £400 for 12 months if you pay up front. There is a £25 setup fee and a 3-month minimum commitment term on that one. And that's because we think people need to give it a chance to work. Also, as I said before, there's quite a lot of work in setting these things up. So you get the same as what you do on Commit, which is all the kind of stuff I've just been speaking about, but you also get the training plan can start any time because it's based around you. You get a consultation beforehand to set goals and discuss about the best way of setting up your training program to get the most out of it. It's a flexible plan that will guide you to your goal race. And then finally, CommitSWIM, which I mentioned previously, is £10 a month. There's no setup fee, no minimum commitment, and it just gives you those daily swim sessions for you to work through. We will help you understand the training paces and the training zones on the swim side, and again, there will be still the online drop-in and the peer support via the Facebook group. So that's pretty much the end of it. Hopefully I've covered most points. If I haven't, then obviously let us know. The next thing for you to do is to join the Do3 Commit Facebook group. In fact, the best thing to do actually now is, because you can't click on these links, obviously, because you're just watching a recording of this, is to drop us a message and say, yes, you'd like to go ahead, maybe which kind of level that you want to go on to, and we will return, send you an email back saying, that's great, these are the links that you need to click and this is what you need to do. So effectively you need to create a Training Peaks account, you need to connect your Training Peaks account to the coach's account, and then make sure that you've got your Garmin account if you have a Garmin, and that's connected to Training Peaks so that it can send all your data directly to Training Peaks. You shouldn't have to do anything else other than the usual send it up to Garmin Connect, and it will find its way through TrainingPeaks by itself. It should be all automated once you click all these links, but we'll go through all that with you. As soon as you connect your TrainingPeaks account to our coach's account, we take that as a notification that you have joined the program. Okay, we'll then be in contact with you about billing and about, if you're on CommitFLEX, about how to actually kind of go ahead and how we need to kind of arrange the consultation and get all that set up for you. So I think that's pretty much it. Just to comment, as it says on the slide there, it can take a while to get used to this. As with any system, it's the same with our one-to-one athletes. It takes a month or so for people to get used to the system and how it works. So all I say is, if you do sign up to commit, just get used to, just give it a chance to work. You will eventually get used to the jargon and the way that the system works. If you're not sure, you can ask questions. Yeah, just all I'm asking you to do is just be patient and give it some time to get used to it. Within a month or so, you'll be really happy with how it works, and I'm pretty confident that you'll be pleased and wanting to stay on it and seeing those results that we all want you to get. So that's it. You can't ask any questions. You're not actually here. So I can't think of anything else. So if you can think of anything that you want to ask us now, just drop us an email, put a post on Facebook, whatever. Just a reminder that the Standard Commit program starts on the 4th of November. Flex, there's not quite so much of a hurry because that's something that we deal with you personally on. And I think that's pretty much it. But thanks for listening.